A lot of people hate these survey questions because you're like, well, I'm in the math section. Why do I need to read all this stuff? It's a little, weird. Throws you off. But here's the thing. This is why practice is important. They ask the same thing basically every time. These survey questions are almost always concerned with the exact same idea. The story will change, the wording will change, but the idea is very much the same. So when we look at it, it's good. The answer should be obvious if you've practiced. Let me just go through that. So near the end of a U.S. cable news show, the host invited viewers to respond to a poll on the show's website that asked, do you support the new federal policy discussed during the show? At the end of the show, the host reported that 28% responded yes and 70% responded no. Which of the following best explains why the results are unlikely to represent the sentiments of the population of the United States? Okay, so when we're talking about the population, we need to make sure that we've got two things. We've got to make sure we're asking a random sample of the population, right? You're not picking out specific people to get the result you want. You're kind of asking people randomly. And that's because we don't want to, we want mostly to avoid bias, right? So those are the ideas we want to think about as we're answering this question. So let's look at A. The percentages do not add to 100%, so any possible conclusion from the polls are invalid. So no, that's not true, because maybe there was a I don't know choice. Who knows why there's only, 98%. There might be an I don't know or I don't care. There might be all sorts of reasons why that extra 2% is missing. We weren't given any information about a third option, but it could be there. So that's gone. B, those who responded to the poll were not a random sample of the population of the United States. Right, because we didn't ask random people in the United States. They asked the people who were watching the show, who are probably biased. They're watching the show because they probably agree with the host. This is like a real problem in the real world. And so it's not random, so there's probably some bias. Let's look at C and D just to make sure. There were not 50% yes responses and 50% no responses. Well, no. Very rarely in real life do 50% of people think one thing and 50% of people think the opposite. That's not how things are. It's very rarely true. And D, the show did not allow viewers enough time to respond to the poll. Well, that might be a problem, honestly, but it doesn't matter. If we had asked random people, it shouldn't matter whether we gave them an hour or we gave them a day. If it's random, it's something to go on, right? We might have more people if we gave them a day, and it might be more reliable. But the problem isn't how many people we got to answer the poll. The problem is who we got to answer the poll. It's not representative of the entire country, so it's biased. And so that's what makes B right. So look for that. Most of the time, that's the answer on these questions. Either you didn't ask enough people, or more importantly, you asked the wrong people and you've created a biased result. The story will change, but the reason is almost always the same.